Welcome to the Ambitious Coach Podcast, powered by 90. I'm your host, Cam Lawson. Each week, we explore the real tactics, tough conversations, and breakthrough moments that drive coaching success. Let's get into today's episode. I am so excited to welcome you to the first episode of the Ambitious Coach Podcast. This is something that I have been wanting to do for a long time, and so I am so excited that it is finally coming out into the world. So I wanted to share a little bit about my background to show a little bit of how we got to this moment that we're in today and going into future episodes to give you a little bit of context. So back in 2019 or so, it feels like the dark ages. This was way before COVID. I was part of an organization that I had worked up kind of out of college, worked my way all the way up to the senior leadership team. I was the head of marketing, and we implemented EOS. So this was the first time I was introduced to the business operating system world, right? When we hired a coach, they call them EOS implementers. He came in and helped us basically integrate this system into our organization. So it was really the first time that I was ever experienced to business operating systems and business coaching. So I got all of it in one. And it was I would say the first time that I truly felt like I belonged to something. I was like, these are my people. I am here. And so fast forward, I transitioned off that team, just got some clarity that it wasn't necessarily the long-term fit. I didn't want to stay in that industry. I had been recruited to go to a global advertising agency. So I went over there and worked in strategy for a year. And then during the time where actually in both organizations, I brought this platform, but initially at the first organization that I referenced, the business coach, the EOS implementer, had brought a tool called 90, which is really just a platform for companies that run on a business operating system, right? So it gives you a central source of truth. Very beneficial on the leadership team side as they're going through, and then especially as they start to roll out to other teams within the organization, you have this one source of truth where everything exists, right? Your vision on where you're going, our organizational structure, and in EOS, they call it the accountability chart, whatever format you have. You start to run meetings in the tool. You can document processes, all of these things that are so beneficial for an organization to have in one place, right? And on the coaching side, it gave this business coach that we worked with one place that he could go and check in on us. And he had all his clients in one place where he could go and just log into each one. He had access into them, gave incredible perception for him going into a session, checking in periodically to see exactly where we're at. It gave him an exact pulse at any given moment of how we were doing as an organization. And so during that, really, I would say 2-3 years, I fell in love with this tool. And so I inevitably had an opportunity to join the team and could not turn it down. And so ended up working at 90. And then as of recently, a couple months ago, I transitioned out and have launched into being a fractional marketing strategist. So I am doing the work of going in and helping businesses think about their marketing from a strategic standpoint. And I'm also continuing to work with coaching coaches on helping them level up. And so that's where we get to this point. So during my time at 90, one of the primary responsibilities that I had was interacting with thousands of business coaches, consultants, fractional executives, really building the channel of 90's referring partners, right? So I had the opportunity and perspective to talk to really thousands. I was responsible for hundreds, but we're able to talk to kind of on the front end of just learning more about them. And so I started to see a lot of trends of things that, whether it's a new coach that just pulled the trigger, graduated out of their career and moved into coaching others, or more seasoned coaches of things that they're dealing with, of how they're thinking about scaling their practice to the next level. So it gave me a unique framework to think about, hey, how do business coaches scale their practice, right? They're solopreneurs thinking about things. And so then as we started to go down of, okay, what are some ways that we can reach this audience better? We started to do some research. All right, what is out there? What content is out there that we could provide? And there really is not a whole lot for coaches specifically. Now, sure, you can take business development and find lots of resources on business development that apply broadly to the practice, but specific to a coaching audience, typically a solopreneur who is going out there and providing a service to a client and thinking about it from that perspective, there's not much out there. And so, man, it was like, well, we can fill that gap. And so that's really where this show came from of, hey, let's start to have conversations with expert, elite, ambitious coaches who have gone out there and done the work and are experts in their craft. And let's have conversations to help others. Because I had this testable theory, hypothesis, if you want, of that a healthy business coaching ecosystem, right? If we have healthy business coaches, we have healthy business consultants, if we have healthy fractional executives, that's going to lead to a healthy business ecosystem, and the economy will only benefit from that. So the better we can be as coaches, the better we're going to see the economy as a whole be. And so that's the deep-rooted passion that I have about this. And so as I was going through and having conversations with lots of different professionals in this field, we started to pick up on some things that kept coming up, right? Which turned into these core competencies of what we believe it takes to be a good business coach, right? So the first one, and we're going to really center these conversations around one or two of these competencies. So we'll be very, very deep into one or two of them to make sure you get a ton of value out of each one of the conversations. We're not going to touch on every single one every single time, but I wanted to get very, very hyper-focused. So the first one is vision. You got to understand why you're doing what you're doing. What is your why? Why did you go into being a business coach? You got to be clear on that. The second one is offering. Once you have that why figured out, you really need to deep dive into, okay, what is the service that I'm providing? How do I price that? How do I message that? How do I package that in a way that resonates with my target audience? This third thing, then you got to, once you have those two things figured out, you've got to go develop business. And I would say this is the number one thing that kept coming up in conversations. Every coach, consultant, fractional executive that I've ever talked to is like, I need leads, I need leads, I need leads. It's the rules of the game, right? You've got to go out, and in order to do the work that you love, you have to do business development. You have to go out there and sell yourself. And so that's the third one. Lots of conversations on this from lots of different angles because there's no right answer of how you do business development. So we'll deep dive in a lot of different strategies on how to better sell yourself to your target audience. The fourth one, and this one is a unique one, and it's very, very important, but oftentimes it's neglected, is practice management. How do you actually run the business of a coaching practice? When do you bring in an executive assistant? When do you think about annual planning and how you're going to scale? If I want to go build a firm model where I have other coaches a part of me, how do I do that? All these things that we talk about the business of being a business coach, right? And then the final competency is how you maintain an edge. We call it mastery. So we're going in and, okay, how do I stay competitive in a very, very competitive space, right? You're competing against a lot of others who do similar work, right? How do you stick out? How do I continue to be the best at my game to where I can go out and see the benefits in business development where people see me as a attractive individual to come in and help their organization? But some of these conversations, we also take a turn on more of the personal side of business coaching. How do I maintain the emotionality of being at the top of my game when I'm going into a session after I had a session the day before that was exhausting, emotionally dragging? How do I prepare myself to go and be at the top of my game tomorrow? So lots of conversations around that. And so that's really where the idea of this show came from. It's very much something that is close to my heart of, I believe there's not a lot of content out there for business coaches that is easily accessible. And so I wanted to fill that gap with this, with the unique perspective that I have and the relationships that I have through 90, being able to have conversations with some of the best, of being able to go in and have deep conversations about these topics that are only going to help you all. And so really what the thought process is we're going to have this podcast, and that will live Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts. YouTube will have a video version of this. I don't know about you. I love listening to Spotify. podcasts when I'm driving somewhere, but I also love sitting down and actually watching a conversation. There's something about being able to see people react and the kind of catch the emotionality from watching them on a screen. And so we're going to have those living on YouTube, but we will also have a centralized place for these to live. So we have a specific page. If you go to ambitiouscoachshow.com, ambitiouscoachshow.com, this will be in the show notes of every single episode, but that's really going to be the central source where all of this content will live. Show notes, episodes, blogs, articles, deep dives on the guests, all these kinds of things will live in that central place. And so that's how we're trying to make it easy. You can obviously go and subscribe. Please leave whatever you're supposed to do, the rating, all of that on the specific platforms. That will only help us. But we also wanted to have a central place for you to go for additional resources, right? And so this is really the heart behind it, is we want to provide you in your craft with information that's going to help you be a better, more ambitious coach. This is not for coaches that see it as a hobby, tail end of their career, they just didn't know what to do, they're bored, and they got into business coaching. These are for coaches that want to scale their practice to the next level. That is what this show is about. All of the guests that come on are perfect examples of ambitious coaches. We're pretty selective in how we go in and bring guests on. And so, Ben, on that note, if you do have something that you would like to share, you have a unique perspective, or you've seen success in your practice and you would love to have a conversation and share about that, I would love to talk with you. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll have all my information linked in the show notes. You can find me on LinkedIn. We also are going to have a community on LinkedIn. So we're going to have the Ambitious Coach community, where we'll have a specific LinkedIn community for coaches, consultants, fractional executives to get together and have a help-first environment where we don't worry about being competitive. We're not going and trying to sell one another. We're actually serious about, hey, I'm dealing with this issue with a client, and we can speak into that. Or, hey, I'm in this network, would love to network with other people in my specific, I'm in Greenville, South Carolina. So, hey, I would love to know fractional executives or consultants in a specific field, or coaches that I can network with and start to build a bit of a trusted partner circle in my geographical area. That's my end goal for the community. So we're trying to reach people where they're at with what they need. So that's the heart of this show. I look forward to dropping more of these episodes. We have a large number already recorded, so we'll be dropping them on Thursdays going forward. Very excited to get these out. And if you need anything in the meantime, feel free to head to ambitiouscoachshow.com, like I mentioned. And also, you are more than welcome to reach out to me. Take care. Looking forward to sharing these with you all. Bye. That's it for today's episode of the Ambitious Coach Podcast. My hope is that something here helps you sharpen your craft and keep building a coaching practice you're proud of. Before we wrap, a quick thank you to our sponsor, 90. If you're coaching leadership teams, having your clients run their entire world in 90 truly elevates your work. Vision, rocks, scorecards, issues, it all lives in one centralized place. The clarity keeps your clients aligned between sessions and makes every conversation you have with them more focused and more impactful. I've used 90 with over 500 leadership teams, and I can tell you it makes great companies better and great coaches even more effective. Feel free to use promo code AC20 for 20% off. Again, that's AC20 for 20% off. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'm Cam, cheering you on as you grow your ambitious coaching practice. We'll see you next time.